Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the International Webinar Series on Holistic Health, Well-being and Sustainable Development 2022-2023, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 75 years of independence. United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 as part of awareness and campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Art, Sciences and Wellbeing. So before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's commemorations. This week is being celebrated as Food Waste Action Week. And it is a week-long event typically held in the first week of March since 2021. And this year, it would be held from March 6th to March 12th. Food we waste. If we were a country, it would have the third largest carbon footprint after the US and China. The food we throw away impacts our environment and contributes to the climate change. Not only do we waste food, but we also waste valuable resources used to produce it, from the land, fertilizer, and the water used to grow the food to the greenhouse gases from the production and transport. In the late 1800s and 1900s, the industrialization and the manufacture of goods dramatically changed and how Americans ate food. Food became commercialized and moved from farm to table to factory to table. Families began wasting food because it was cheaper and more accessible, and throwing away food on the street became a serious health problem. It wasn't until the early 1920s that health officials recognized the need for proper sanitation and instituted waste disposal practices. After the World War II, chemical fertilizers entered the market when the government realized that the excess ammonium nitrate originally produced for explosives during the war would be applied to crops as nitrogen fertilizer. Machinery and the development of agriculture chemicals led to an overproduction of food, and the US produced so much food that in 1954, the government organized Food for Peace to export excess food to impoverished countries. In 1960, President Johnson declared the war on poverty and attempted to feed low-income citizens. World War II took the US economy out of Great Depression and into a new era of prosperity. Consumption and planned obsolescence were encouraged to sustain economic growth. Today, we lose or waste about a third of our food production globally, and it is sad not only for the poor who don't have the food, but also for the environment. This is why Love Food, Hate Waste started the first ever Food Waste Action Week in 2021 to educate people on food waste and its impact in climate change. So, food is traded from farm to table, and families wasted more food because it was cheaper and more accessible. And moreover, during World War, since food preservation is purely voluntary, it is portrayed as patriotic. During 1914, the Great Depression leads to lower incomes and declining demand, causing many crops to rot in the heaps or fields. In 1920, the UN estimates that we waste about 931 million tons of food annually in 2021. So there are dozens of ways you can help save our planet. Here are some practical ways you can raise awareness about food waste, reduce or stop food waste in your life. Spread facts on social media, online, offline, and to your friends, family, and community. Volunteers or start your own community food waste initiative. Support business with good food waste practices. The food waste rots and emits methane and other greenhouse gases. These gases contribute to the climate change and cause health issues related to air pollution. Luckily, with proper waste management, you can play your part in disposing of your food waste in the right way in the very first place, minimizing food waste and preventing food waste. There is only one solution for food waste. However, we are rounded up with a few food waste solutions we can implement at home and at stores. Shop smart and don't overshop. Try not to be a picky eater. Get creative with scraps and leftovers. Think broth or casseroles. Only throw food away if it is unsafe to eat it. You can monitor how much food you and your family throw away at home each week. A great way to start is knowing the right serving sizes for you and your family members. Only cooking what you can eat. If you struggle to cook exact portions, get creative with your leftovers. Know the difference between use by versus best before. Use by is about safety. You should not eat food after this date, even if it looks or smells fine. Best before is about quality. Although food won't be at top quality after this date, it will be safe to eat for some time after. So make a meal for the week and write a shopping list. Before you shop, plan out your proportions. So you only buy what you need. Take note of what you have at home before shopping. Food wastage contributes 8 to 10% of total manufactured greenhouse gases emissions, seriously impacting the climate change. If we all stop wasting bread at our home in the UK for a year, it could do the same for greenhouse gases as planting 5.3 million trees. Many regions throughout the US and the world are working towards zero food wastage. And Teton Country has a waste transfer station where they collect waste and then transport it to Bourne Valley landfill over 100 miles away. Every day, the equivalent of 20 million slices of bread is thrown away in UK homes, which could feed 100 million people or 10 million people. It reduces our carbon footprint, and it is important to raise awareness of the impact of food waste on our planet. Throwing away good food is a waste of resources, energy, and water used to produce and store this food. It leaves a huge carbon footprint. So it aims to create lasting change that will help achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goal of halving the world's food waste by 2030. The only earth we have, and we need to look after it. We waste 6.5 million tons of food a year in the UK alone. Besides the environmental impact, we must reduce this number to help every household to save money by fully using each food item they purchase and before expiry. This week is also commemorated as British Pie Week, and a perfect opportunity to indulge in your favorite pie without worrying about the cost or the calories, which can be taken occasionally with conscious health diets. This week is also commemorated as National Cheerleading Week. During the National Cheerleading Safety Month, it is dedicated to acknowledging and celebrating the sacrifices and contributions of the cheer athletes to the sportsmen. This week is also commemorated as National Groundwater Awareness Week in US, and we are elated at the opportunity to learn more and take opportunity to make our groundwater safe. And it is the most accessed source of fresh water in the world. It accounts for half of the world population's drinking water. And water is one of the world's most vital resources which supports life. Animals, plants, humans, the whole ecosystem and the earth depend on water for their continued existence. As humans, we use water every day for myriad day-to-day activities like cooking, drinking, bathing, farming, and more. Water covers 71% of the Earth's surface, in contrast to the bare ground surface, upon which we all step and build our houses and structures. One might have thought that this would make water readily available for consumption, but 97% of the water is ocean water, salty and undrinkable, with only 3% fresh and suitable for drinking water, the top of which is groundwater. And among that 3%, only 1 to 1.5% is now available because of melting of glaciers and due to rising temperatures. Groundwater is situated deep under the underground in aquifers, a body of rock that holds water. It is what most times constitutes well water that we dig up into the earth to source water, and it is largest available fresh water on the earth. As far back as 9,000 years ago, man began the search for fresh water, digging in the earth with their hands and crude tools for water below the earth. Over the years, sophisticated methods have risen, leading to wells, bore wells, and other exploitation sources, solving this problem of fresh water for man's sustenance. People in countries all over the world make use of groundwater. In the US, groundwater is the most commonly engaged source for public water supplies. And it is a time of the year to set aside to advocate for the cleanliness and safety of groundwater, especially for private water well owners to test, tend, and treat their water systems. This reminds us not to take water for granted, as the import of groundwater into our current existence can be little. And groundwater, being largest source of fresh water for man, the largest percentage of water on earth is ocean water, which is practically undrinkable because of its saltiness. Groundwater is very important, and it is also a major alternative to rainwater, and vice versa. But since if it doesn't rain all year around, the easy availability of groundwater makes it better option. Several problems can arise with groundwater, including drying of wells, contamination of the water, waterlogging and salinity, saltwater encroachment, and many more. It is estimated that there are about 2.8 trillion gallons of groundwater, making 30.1% of the world's freshwater. More often than not, groundwater is clean and ready to drink because the soil filters the water, holding chemicals, living organisms, and the minerals, and allowing only water to the aquifers. Hydrologists estimate that groundwater contributes about 40 to 50% of the water that flows into streams, lakes, and rivers. About half of the world's population dependent on groundwater for drinking, with the US having it provide for 44% of the drinking water supply. The Great Artesian Basin in Australia is the largest and deepest aquifer holding groundwater, underlying 22% of the continent. Water is life. Water is very important to the existence of life, be it humans, animals, plants, or the earth itself. We can't do without water. This makes National Groundwater Awareness Week unique and necessary. This event is also important to help in fighting against debilitating waterborne diseases that can be born in private water wells because of negligence. The yearly checkup would help to detect and prevent germs and bacteria that can be very harmful to the safety of our homes and families. Because fresh water is readily available in our societies, we are always quick to forget its importance and why we must guard to protect it. And this event reminds us once more the need to protect groundwater, especially for the future generations. This week is also commemorated as National Procrastination Week in US to really while some procrastinate more than others, everyone has indeed done this at one point or the other in their lives. Often we find the need to sacrifice one task for another, and this might leave us dissatisfied. Thus, on this commemoration, we bring things into perspective while making the right sacrifices, laying more emphasis on our mental well-being. And this commemoration was born out of idea that we should have 1 week to enjoy the things that we put off for a long time. And it is a time for loosening up and stress-free exercise. Procrastination is derived from the Latin words pro, meaning forward, and crastinus, meaning tomorrow. So procrastination is the act of pulling off a job, mostly something important, till a later time, and is usually painted negatively. It's a time to help procrastinators arrange their schedule in such a way that they can enjoy a week to delay those important things they usually have to do. They are then picked up again after the holiday when important work is reached. And it is devoted to regular tasks and focus on the most important activities, while the week of the holiday provides an important opportunity to relax, ease off, and engage leisurely pursuits that aren't a necessity. These may include exercising, reading, hiking, and hanging out with friends and family. And it could be any of these things that are not so serious. So it must also be noted that it does not support laziness in any way. Rather, it helps to keep procrastinations organized, making them carry out important work now so that they can enjoy the week. And some of the causes of procrastination include depression, perfectionism, abstract goals, ADHD, and also majorly or mostly due to lack of motivation. Procrastination can lead to anxiety, financial issues, failure to meet deadlines, amongst others. And when procrastination begins to affect the important functions of one's life, then it could assume the status of mental disorder. As a procrastinator, it is good to be encouraged by people who understand your situation. So joining a club can help you more organized. And procrastination, especially chronic procrastination, is associated with mental issues like stress and anxiety. Procrastination is prevalent among students and teachers alike. And academic procrastination is widely spread. And men procrastinate more than women. Studies have shown that men tend to procrastinate more than women. It has been found that some people inherit the habit of procrastination from their parents, so genetics can also influence procrastination. A person's intelligence level is not a common determinant of their habit to procrastinate. It is not necessarily associated with intelligence. It's time for self-reflection. People tend to quickly put things in order. This gives them a clear plan for the week itself and following weeks as well. And it allows us to consider the tasks we at hand and how to better deal with them. This can help relieve anxiety and stress. This week is also commemorated as National School Breakfast Week to raise awareness about one of the largest welfare programs of the US government. Experts say breakfast is most important meal of the day, and the federal government agrees. Ever since its inception in 1966, the school breakfast program has served billions of free and nutritious meals to students from all economic backgrounds. Throughout the week, teachers organize exciting contests and school cafeterias are adorned with special menus and decorations to mark the inception of this great welfare program. The link between academic excellence and healthy eating cannot be overstated. Consistent, nutritious meals are critical to a child's overall mental and physical growth. No matter how far the field of knowledge stretches its hands, a hungry child can never run into its embrace. So the plight was first noticed by Kentucky Congressman Carl Perkinson, who was worried about children making their way to school on an empty stomach. So motivated by his desire to change circumstances of millions of students, he proposed a radical idea of serving free breakfast to the school-going children from low-income families. After months of pushback, Congress finally launched a 2-year pilot project known as School Breakfast Program in 1966. The school breakfast program provided the option of a balanced meal consistent with standard dietary regulations for students from all economic backgrounds. In the mid-1970s, Congress kept extending the program for further understand the effect of students hailing from low-income families. The program became incredibly popular in the country, and various activist groups such as Food Research and Action Center began lobbying for the permanent adoption of the program, which happened in 1975. The program continuous expansion and eventual performance resonated its importance throughout the country. Today, more than 90,000 schools participate in the school breakfast program. On an average, 14.5 million students are served with fresh and nutritious breakfast as they head to their classes. And this week was National School Breakfast Week was adopted in 1989 to raise awareness about the immense success of the program and the steps we need to take to expand it further. The school breakfast program is means tested. Households with income below or at par with 130% federal poverty level can avail themselves of free breakfast and lunches. Family with income between 130% and 185% of the poverty level are also eligible for meals at a deducted price. The school breakfast program follows the recommendations of the dietary guidelines of America. The meals are served in the rotation of fruits, whole grains, and meats, or in case of vegan substitutes. Special attention is paid to limiting sodium, trans fat, and calories in each serving, and the meals must be prepared by local school food authorities. The timeline of the school breakfast program intersects with Black Panthers Party's free breakfast program. Although the FBI dismantled the efforts of Black Panthers breakfast program, the government took heed of the popularity of the program and moved to the performance and the permanence of SBP in mid-1970s. So many organizations are leading the fight against hunger in US. While the school breakfast program covers children in school, there are tons of impoverished children and young adults outside of the formal system who deserve our support. So donate to charities fighting hunger. And there is no better way to mark the success of school breakfast program than to volunteer at your local food bank. From sorting, packaging, and assisting to deliveries, food banks are always in need of help. Week-long participation will earn you many good karmic points, that is good karma. From the enrollment of just 6,600 schools in 1971, the school breakfast program has now reached more than 90,000 schools from a molehill to a mountain. The last decade has seen a tremendous growth of SBP with 5 million new admissions of low-income families, resulting in dramatic growth. On an average school day, in 2019, 14.6 million students were served fresh and nutritious breakfast meals. Students who participate in the school breakfast program showed an improvement in retention, verbal fluency, memory, physical endurance, and cognitive functioning. So better diet, better change. The success of SBP has launched many sister programs such as Grab and Go, Second Chance Breakfast, Breakfast in Classroom, and Breakfast Vending. So this week-long observation sheds light on the activism that led to the establishment and implementation of the school breakfast program. From gaining private funding partners in the Walmart Foundation to the passage of critical legislation in the states of New Mexico and Oregon, the school breakfast program is continuously expanding its reach to eliminate all logistical obstacles that stand in the way of hungry stomachs and federal assistance. The existence of the program is not enough to feed the children. Though it expands to over 90,000 schools nationwide, only half of the entire low-income children can benefit the program. National School Breakfast Day raises awareness about the immense challenges that lie ahead as the government aims to provide free breakfast to every child in the need. This week is also commemorated as National School to School Week. The event promotes healthy living, environmental awareness, and the benefits of physical exercises, while also instilling a sense of independence in children. Lack of activity and air pollution are the most among urgent health issues in the Ireland currently, and this week aims to address these. So this is a commemoration in Ireland, and this was initiated by Green Schools Ireland in 2015 to encourage primary school students to walk, bike, or scoot or use public transport to and from school. Primary schools across Ireland participate in this annual event to promote the benefits of physical exercise, to help curb childhood health problems, and to address environmental issues. According to a study carried out in 2018, only 13% of the school children in Northern Ireland spend at least an hour a day doing physical activities. This may have been caused by several factors, including their choice of play, sedentary behavior, poor diets, and an over-reliance on private transport. So meanwhile, data from a 2015 World Health Organization study shows that Ireland is at risk of becoming the most obese country in Europe. Up to 1 out of 4 children in Ireland are classified as overweight, with 6% qualifying as obese. Also, 7 out of 10 Irish children are thought not to get enough exercise. Further research by Mary Immaculate College in Limerick found that the number of Irish children walking to school has dropped dramatically in the last few decades. Only up to 18% of Irish children regularly walk or bike to school today, in comparison with older generations. However, the problems behind these issues are clear. Children today walk less because parents usually drive them to school, binding them to that comfort. Their preferred modes of play are usually digital means such as video games or computer games or mobile games, which require them to be sedentary. Social factors such as rising street crime do not help the situation either. Despite this, the responsibility to look after children's health falls on the parents and the child themselves. If they are taught the importance of physical exercises in the minds, this could change. And therefore, campaigns such as National School to School Week aim to raise awareness of these problems and encourage people to tackle them together. The environment, the World Health Organization has described air pollution as the single biggest environment risk in Ireland. Premature deaths in the country attributed to air pollution are estimated at 1,300 people. To reduce air pollution, the Irish government had set targets to curb road and industrial emissions. According to the 2021 Climate Action Plan, Ireland plans to reduce their carbon emissions by 51% by 2030. And the Irish Department of Health has issued a set of guidelines to help Irish citizens maintain their physical and well-being. For children over 2 years old and young people under 18, it is recommended for them to be active at a moderate to vigorous level for at least an hour a day. For adults aged 18 to 64, they recommend at least 30 minutes of a day of moderate activity 5 days a week. Second-level schools across Ireland are required by law to provide students with physical education classes. The Department of Education recommends that schools provide at least 2 hours of physical education a week. Campaigns such as National Scout to School Week help provide students with additional exercise in a week. The best way to celebrate this event is to ditch the cars and use your legs. For able, take your bike, scooter, or even walk to school in the spirit of the event. Doing so will help boost, and your physical health can help create a sense of independence. If you do not have a bike or scooter or live too far to walk, you can use public transport to get to the class. One of the goals of National School to School Week is to lessen the environmental damage caused by constant car or vehicle use. So using public transport will not only help the environment, but also can increase your navigational skills, allowing you to know your surroundings better. Increased physical activity can help improve a child's attention span and memory. Exercise can reduce the risks of depression and other stress-induced mental health issues. Regular exercise at a young age can help reduce the risk of chronic diseases in the future. Frequent physical activity helps build a child's stamina and physical strength. Exercise can improve a child's blood pressure and fitness while regulating and reducing body fat in the progress. It also encourages children to become more aware of their health and environment. It teaches them valuable lessons that can help them live healthier, smarter lives in the future. The more people who participate in the event, the greater the impact. If the amount of cars on the road decreases, then so too will the amount of air pollution. This will be very beneficial for the environment and can help maintain Ireland's quality of life for years to come. This week is also commemorated as Newspapers in Education Week, in short known as NIE, is a young reader development initiative that involves the use of newspapers in schools for purpose of improving literacy and developing a reading culture among children. During this week, several different events are held in schools by educators to use newspapers in classrooms. Newspapers participate in program by providing newspapers and other resources to local schools and helping organize events and activities for the same. A newspaper is a regular periodical that provides news, views, features, and other information of public interest, as well as advertisements on a daily, weekly, or regular basis. The first forms of the contemporary newspaper were Acta Diurna, daily acts of ancient Rome, which publishes notices of political and social happenings, and the manuscript newsletters circulated by various foreign companies. In the late Middle Ages, the Daily Courant was the first English daily to be published years later. Historically, the Parliament did not explicitly grant the media the privilege to cover its proceedings until 1771. Public occurrences, both foreign and domestic, Boston, September 1619, the first newspaper in the US was suppressed by colonial government after only one issue. It was first amendment of the US Constitution that secured the state of a free press in the country. Initially, circulation in the low thousands was typical for newspapers. This, however, saw a steady increase after that. Increasing literacy as well as technological advancements in mechanical typesetting, high-speed printing, and communications and transportation enabled higher circulation. In the earliest 21st century, the world-leading newspapers began offering online editions of their publications. Although some newspaper publishers charged readers for access to their web versions, many made them available for free in the hopes that advertising revenue combined with cheaper printing and distribution expenses would cover the loss of subscription rates. Newspapers, as we know them today, are abundant sources of information that bring us news from all over the world and access a wide variety of topics and industries. Whether you read a physical copy or a digital website, newspapers are still a vital part of our lives. Newspapers are still a vital part of our lives. Newspapers in Education Week emphasizes this power of newspaper and aims to instill a habit of reading into children while they are young. Though different activities and events this week educates children on many benefits of newspapers. So the earliest form of newspaper was first seen in the European countries. So this commemoration in US has nothing to do with the invention of the newspaper. Benjamin Franklin's brother, James Franklin, started the newspaper, the Boston Gazette. In 1982, the Wisconsin newspaper in Education Week published and promoted one of the earliest classroom curricula for the National Newspaper in Education Week. So if possible, So it's possible that in the hustle and bustle of life, especially with the rapid digitization of the world, we might have lost touch with the newspaper ourselves. Take this week to develop a habit of reading again, whichever method works best for you. Only 13% of all Americans the weather is considered the most useful news, according to a survey. One third of Americans rely on social media channels for news. The highest paid American news anchor makes 40 million a year, and consumers find newspaper ads to be more trustworthy than any other channels. So reading and checking up news and current events is a great habit to have, and this week helps inculcate that into a children at a young age. So staying up to a date broadens a person's horizons and has many additional benefits. School learning can often feel monotonous, and a week full of education yet innovative events like this makes learning fun. And weeks like this engage students and keep them active in the curriculum while trying new things. Newspaper reading strengthens reading and writing skills and helps improve vocabulary as well. It can even help the students more confident and aware. This week is also commemorated as Women of Aviation Worldwide Week in US, in short known as WOAW. The aviation industry consists of various activities and industries relating to aircraft and air traffic control. Most aircraft in aviation are utilized for their air travel or military warfare. Women of Aviation Worldwide is a global aviation awareness week held for women and young girls to commemorate the issuance of the first female pilot license, which took place in 1910. It also means to address gender discrimination in the aviation industry. Aviation history goes far as back as over 2000 years. In the early days of aviation, kites, hot air balloons, and heavier than air jets were popular. Kite flying is alleged to be one of the first examples of the man-made flight. During the 19th century, aeronautics was the rave. People used hot air balloons, airships, and gliders before airplanes we know today. By 1903, advancements had been in the aviation, and by December 12th, the first airplane, Kitty Hawk, took flight for about 12 seconds at 37 meters. The airplane was commanded by the Wright brothers, Orville and Wilbur in North Carolina. This event impacted the world of aviation as decades later, new aircraft was created to aid transportation of the people, goods and services, and later on. Up until 1910, the aviation industry was considered a male-dominated industry. Gender discrimination was glaring, and the women fought tooth and nail to prove their competence. Women have made significant contributions to the advancement of aviation, beginning with the first woman to fly a hot air balloon in 1754 and continuing with the first licensed female pilot in 1910. The Women of Aviation Worldwide Week commemorate the licensing of the first female pilot as a first step in addressing gender discrimination in the industry. In 2010, a pilot and aviation instructor, Meryl Goyer, launched the Flight Forward initiative to encourage more pilots worldwide to include girls of all ages to aviation. Meryl used the initiative to address women's lack of aviation activity exposure. With the Flight Forward initiative, the goal is to see more women in all facets of aviation, as hoped by pioneering female pilots. By 2011, this event evolved into Women's Aviation Week. Today is also National Dentist Day in US. And it is a day to celebrate men and women who keep chomping, our nasals clashing, and our white lip pearling. Dentists are doctors who are specializing in oral health, and it's their job to prevent, diagnose, and treat oral diseases, monitor the growth of our teeth and jaws, perform surgical procedures on our teeth and mouths, and dental health is integral to our overall health. So today we salute them, not just for keeping our teeth looking good, but also keeping our bodies in tip-top shape. So nothing makes your dentist happier than knowing you are taking care of your teeth. So brushing your teeth, you could even floss and use mouthwash today and know that somewhere out there your dentist is smiling. Since we only go twice a year, it can be easy to forget to make a dental appointment. So take a few minutes out of your day to schedule your next cleaning, and it will make you feel accomplished, and your dentist will also be happy. Being a dentist can be pretty thankless job. So take our smiles, including our teeth, are one of the first things that people notice about us, and dentists help keep them looking good. Whether it's encouraging us to floss or taking care of pesky cavities, dentists ensure that our teeth are sparkling and our smiles are confident when we face the world. A lot of people are scared of going to the dentist, and it's easy to understand why. Popular culture sets up going to the dentist as an altogether terrible experience, and nobody has ever liked having a root canal. But even when the jobs they do are hard, dentists are there to chill out, calm us down, and get us through tricky procedures with as much as grace possible. So healthy teeth means healthy bones, and from the first time we visit the dentist, they are there to keep our mouths and bodies healthy and happy. Anyone who has ever had a toothache knows how painful it can be, and the painful teeth can take over your life. But dentists are there to make us feel our best, and from head to toe. Today is also commemorated as Ghana Independence Day. Ghanaians celebrate the heroes who led the way in the country's struggle for Independence Day. And today is also commemorated as Gom and Chomoro Heritage Day, as they honor the discovery of Gom and honor the rich cultural heritage and history of Gom. Today is also commemorated as Iraq Day of Tolerance and Coexistence to promote religious tolerance in Iraq. Today is also commemorated as Maka Puja. It is celebration of the conception of an ideal community. More than 2,500 years since Siddhartha attained an enlightenment and became known as Buddha. Maka Puja, also known as Maga Puja or Maka Puja, because of other languages they do not have sufficient alphabets. As you know, the Telugu has the highest number of alphabets, so anything can be pronounced with a specific sound. So it is very easy to, produce any kind of sound with different combinations of vowels and consonants. So that's why we see, in many languages, they lack so many alphabets. So that's why they combine sounds and they spell it. So we can see a lot of variations, whenever we have diversity, but we appreciate that diversity. So even puja is also pronounced as buja or pucha based on their, alphabets in the language and the sounds they produce. Anyway, so it is observed to commemorate the meeting of Buddha and his first 1,200 disciples. Maka or Maga is the month, and Puja or Puja means prayer. It is called Sangha Day and Fourfold Assembly Day, and it is celebrated in the parts of Thailand, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, and Cambodia, and also in other places of the world. So Buddha was born as Siddhanta in Lumbini, present-day Nepal, in an aristocratic family. When the Siddhartha was conceived, his mother went to father's place in Kapilavastu. As a youth, Siddhartha had the privileges of life. His father, Suddhodana, was the hereditary monarch of the Surya Vamsha, solar dynasty. Later, Siddhartha stepped out of kingdom. He faced the realities of life. He saw poverty, suffering, and death, which deeply moved him and gave him existential crisis. Siddhartha decided to leave his kingdom and the pleasures of life and lead the life of an ascetic. And thus, Siddhartha started meditating. It is during this time that he realized the importance of middle path, that is, creating a balance between the self-indulgence and severe asceticism. In Bodh Gaya, sitting under the Mahabodh tree, Siddhartha attained enlightenment and became known as Buddha, the enlightened one. 10 months later of the enlightenment, followed by the events led to Maga Puja, the first 1,200 disciples of Buddha who have attained enlightenment themselves gathered to see Buddha without being summoned. It was also the full moon night of the third lunar month. This day became to be celebrated as Maka Puja. And it is said that it was also the day of Buddha appointed Sariputta and Moggallana as his two main disciples. There are many activities and customs associated like Maga Puja. On the morning of Maga Puja, monks are offered by food by devotees. Later in the afternoon, they visit temple for the sermon. and the 5 precepts and 8 precepts are also observed. Vesak is the most important festival for the Buddhist, and it is the birthday of Buddha. It is celebrated in May on the first moon day. The 3 main beliefs of Buddhism are the 3 universal truths. Everything is impermanent and changing. Impermanence leads to suffering, and all life involves suffering. The 4 noble truths: the truth of suffering, the truth of cause of suffering, the truth of end of suffering, and the truth of the path that leads to the end of suffering. The noble eightfold path: right view, right resolve, right speech, right conduct, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right samadhi. This would be a great time to bring out our religious and spiritual side, visiting our nearest Buddhist temple or monastery and offer our prayers. You can also meditate and do some self-introspection. Not many people know the significance of this day. So share or write an article or blog post or share it on social media. Use this day to read more about Magha Puja and other fascinating Buddhist stories. As you dive deeper into these stories, you will discover amazing historical facts that you never know and also expand your general knowledge in the process. The term Buddhism was coined by Western philosophers in 1833. The Clement of Alexandria from 2nd AD mentions Buddhism. Buddhism has 2 branches, namely Theravada, the school of elders, and Mahanayana, the great vehicle. Buddhism is known to be the 4th largest religion, and Buddhist teachings don't mention the existence of a god or a creator of God or a creature. So we often get busy with our hectic schedule and busy routine and forget to give time to ourselves. This day provides us with a great opportunity to set aside the stress and work on ourselves. It allows us to meditate, reflect on our decisions, and self-introspect. It is rightly said that one must never stop learning. And Magha Puja provides us with an opportunity to learn more about Buddhist stories, beliefs, and teachings. It gives us a chance to expand our knowledge. Buddha was someone who has refrained from his worldly attachments and set out to live life honest. His teachings of finding the middle way instead of going extreme is something we should all follow in life. This day provides us an opportunity to look back at the teachings of Buddha and ingrain them in our lives. Today is also National Report General Service Administration Fraud Day. This in US, this day signifies sensitizes the public to fraud committed against GSA government program. It also emphasizes the need for whistleblowers and educates the people on how to claim a substantial reward for reporting GSA fraud. About 10% of the US government spending is lost due to fraud, summing up to $350 billion annually. CSA import fraud is difficult to detect by GSA, creating a need for whistleblowers. Joel Husk, a former US Department of Justice attorney, started this holiday for the same purpose. The US Congress amended the False Claims Act in 1986 to encourage whistleblowers to come forward with allegations of fraud. The False Claims Act, also called the Lincoln Law, is an American federal law that holds people and organizations responsible for defrauding government programs. Whistleblowers provisions in 2009 and 2010 further improved the False Claims Act. On July 21, 2010, Congress established the whistleblower program to provide monetary incentives to people who come forward and disclose probable violations of federal securities laws to the SEC. Joel Heck, a whistleblower attorney who spent over 15 years working in the Department of Justice Whistleblower Reward Office, created national reports at GSA Fraud Day in 2018. He established the day to help stamp out fraud. It is short but detailed video. He spoke about the holiday, its purpose, and how to celebrate the event. Heck also created his law firm devoted to helping whistleblowers get the government result they deserve. Heck has written 2 free books to aid the public and information on how to help eliminate fraud. One book addresses typical Medicare fraud schemes, while other lectures about fraud against the military, homeland security, and other agencies, and teaches people how to report these types of fraud. Whistleblowers help the US government recover $2.2 billion in settlements and judgments in legal litigation against the government for fraud and false claims. So anyone with clear and precise information about consequential fraud against the government, security law violations, or tax violations can be a whistleblower. So learning about the federal whistleblower incentive schemes is the best way to commemorate National Report GSA Fraud. You might begin by downloading one of the 2 Joel Heck free ebooks. And learn to recognize the typical GSA ripoff schemes. The way you can quickly identify fraud when you see it, you can get this acknowledged by reading Joel Heck's books. GSA fraud resulted in a 10% loss in total government spending. Learn how to correctly report fraud to aid against fighting against government fraud in the US. In India also, we see a lot of schemes are being misused due to fraud. We see beneficiaries, those in various schemes, the beneficiaries are either the followers of certain political parties or movements. And of course, there is nothing to deny, even because if they also fall into the eligible criteria, then they can also be given. So no one is against it. But we see, the genuine or the beneficiaries are missing out to favor someone else. So that should not be done. Even we see housing schemes and various schemes where they are often, not reaching the beneficiaries, and those who are holding houses are getting more of allotment of plots and allotment of houses. So this should be avoided. This kind of frauds also should be reported to the government so that, the beneficiary who really doesn't own any house or plot get a house for their living. So these kind of frauds, many are aware. And it is also quite common across the world where the government funds are being misused also to a certain extent. We don't say, that entire such schemes are not benefiting, but definitely there is no doubt in saying that there is certain percentage of fraud that is being committed. So as a whistleblower, it is our responsibility to bring that notice to the authorities and to the public and the media so that the beneficiaries do not, lose their opportunities or benefits which can improve their livelihoods and standard of living. And whistleblowers get sizable rewards for reporting GSA fraud. And the US government loses about $350 billion to GSA fraud yearly. Heck, a whistleblower attorney, started National Report General Service Administration, GSA Fraud Day. HESC founded the HESQFIM, which is nationwide advocate for whistleblowers. Roughly 42.2% of the fraud is detected by the tips. With every citizen aware and alert, the government stands a chance of eliminating GSA fraud. The holiday brings this to the notice of the public. And GSA fraud costs the government a large amount of money each year. We have the opportunity to mitigate and eliminate those losses. And it also raises the need for whistleblowers and how to claim significant award for reporting the GSA fraud. With adequate education, anyone can be a whistleblower. And today is also National White Chocolate Cheese Day. Today is also commemorated as No Homework Day. And it is a holiday that seeks to give students a break from homework assignments. Homework refers to a set of tasks assigned to students by their teachers to be completed outside the classroom. Common homework could include any of a variety of required reading, mathematical exercises to be completed, information to be reviewed before a test, or other skills to be practiced. Depending on the discretion of the teacher involved, the issue of how effective homework assignments are has been debated over the years. In a general sense, homework does not particularly improve the academic performance of students. So No Homework Day was created by couple Thomas and Ruth Roy as means to help students focus on activities other than homework. It is expected that on this day, parents give children a break from the homework and that teachers at school equally take break from giving homework. Research has shown that homework can lead to stress, thereby being counterproductive to the learning process. Homework eats up children's free time for the other activities necessary for development, and its importance in learning is rather obscure. And Professor Research has shown that homework can lead to stress, thereby being counterproductive to the learning process. Homework eats up children's free time for other activities necessary for the development, and its importance is learning it's rather obscure. Professors at Duke University has suggested to the 10-minute rule that should apply to homework. So it is a day about removing homework completely from the picture, but it is meant for everyone involved to take a step back and relax. It's about giving children a break, as No Homework Day encourages students to take a break from the homework for a day and focus on other rewarding activities like sleeping, reading a good novel, creating an art, playing a sport, or any other such activity. And No Homework Day is an international holiday that was created to help students focus on activities other than homework. So skip homework, the best way to celebrate altogether. Ideally, no one should be getting homework that day anyway, so it would be justified. In the absence of any homework, this is an opportunity to feed any of the hobbies, which could be anything from seeing a movie to playing a video game, or using it for a productive activity. And it is also fun for everyone, so that whatever hobby you decide to devote that time or that free time to let everyone know by sharing it and start a conversation. And taking home assignments based on work done in school tends to help students retain the knowledge of what has been taught. So it helps in memory retention. Doing homework gives the student the opportunity of having practical experience on the subject, and having a deal with loads of homework every day or every other day could increase the stress levels in a student and cause of lack of interest in schoolwork. That's why, homework can be productive, but if it is too much or too heavy, it can be very stressful and has counterproductive. It can be a counterproductive. So homework usually gets in the way of students having an active social life, and if it gets too overwhelming, it could have negative effects on the students. In the age of internet, it's very easy for students to plagiarize homework and not necessarily put the required amount of time into learning the subject, and more of rote learning or plagiarism will happen. And parents lack their bond with their children over academic work. No homework day allows us to bond over something else, anything but homework. This year, it takes place on March 6th. It all started as a handball game, and today is World Tennis Day. As it started out as a handball game known as Jeu de Paume, game of the palm, that has transcended into one of the most popular sports in the world. The holiday was launched by Star Games in 2013 with the aim of encouraging participation in the sport. The sport is played by millions of people from around the world in public courts or in clubs. So tennis is a racket sport and a very popular one at that. Single or double team players go head to head with each other on the court until one team becomes the champion. Tennis matches can last for as short as 90 minutes or as long as a few hours, depending on the conditions. The game of tennis was not always as we know it to be today. In 12th century, the popular game was on the rise and loved by many, including royals. Game of the palm was popular sport that was played by the French, and it laid the foundation of real tennis as it was known in Britain. Louis X Louis X of France was one of the major pioneers of the sport, so much so that end of the 13th century, he became the first person to consult indoor tennis courts in the modern style. This new feature quickly spread across royal palaces all over Europe. In the modern style, this new feature quickly spread across royal places all over Europe, and the game became known as tennis in the 16th century with introduction of rackets. It was played indoors in squash fashion where it could be hit against a wall, and that version tennis became a real tennis. Because of several evolutions that has resulted in the tennis we now know today. The invention of the lawnmower served as a catalyst for the popularity of lawn tennis and modern style courts. The first lawn tennis tournament was held in 1874 in Birmingham, 3 years before the first Wimbledon championship and a few years before the first National American Championship. On March 4, 2013, Star Games launched in the first World Tennis Day. Since then, it has been celebrated annually on the first day in the March. The first handball sport game of the palm sets the base for real tennis. British Army officer Walter Clopton Wingfield introduces several modern rules into the game of lawn tennis and thereby popularizing the game. The first American national championship is held at the Staten Island Cricket Club at the Camp Washington, New York. The International Lawn Tennis Federation is established in 1930. So Maria Sharapova is known to have the loudest grunt in tennis, with her measuring and defining 105 decibels. This is louder than the sound of a small aircraft taking off and just as loud as a car horn. The word tennis comes from the French word tennis, which means to hold, receive, or take. These are the terms a server calls out to his opponent before making a serve. So on this occasion, play a game, appreciate the wonderful sport by playing it yourself. It is already your form of exercise. Today is a perfect day to sharpen those skills. And if you have been looking a sport to get them into, pick up a racket and start swinging today. You can also start small by playing on your mobile devices or competing with others online to keep learning the rules. And head to your local courts or stadium and watch a live game of tennis to get into the game. If you don't have the opportunity of seeing a live game, there are several sporting channels dedicated to sport around the clock. So tune in into one of them. Watch a game one or two. Yellow tennis balls were introduced in the sport in 1972. The tennis ball is said to be in action for only 20 minutes in a standard 2.5-hour match. So the ball isn't always in play. Tennis was originally played as an hourglass-shaped court. Mita Klima played in the 1907 Wimbledon at just 13 years old, becoming the youngest player ever. The oldest tennis court, the Royal Tennis Court, is located at the Hampton Court Palace, London, and is still used to date. And if you have been procrastinating, that friendly tennis match with your friend today brings the best opportunity to finally fit into your plans. Below any reason to play a sport and get some cardio while doing so. And the World Tennis Day provides that opportunity seamless. And it was created to ignite the passion of learning about the sport, and this presents a fresh opportunity to spark and grow the skill in the individuals. It is a sport played by the people of all ages, giving everyone an equal opportunity to learn the sport. So it is a fascinating sport and one that is very interesting to watch as well. A good game of tennis does well for the body and mind. So with this, we shall conclude today's commemorations. Thank you everyone for joining. If you have any queries, you can raise your hand or share it in chat box. So we are raising forms, feedback form in the form of polls. Kindly fill up the feedback form. And a gentle reminder for everyone who are planning to register for the conference, we request everyone to kindly circulate the conference registration forms, and those who are willing to participate are requested to quickly register. The timings are likely for the morning sessions. It will be from morning 11 to 1, depending on the schedule that we will be putting it after 15th. 15th is the last stage. from 18th, we are starting having conference. So till 15th, after we close the registrations, we will provide a cumulative schedule of all the papers. So it is likely, tentatively. So we'll let you know after 15. So as of now, it is likely that sessions will be conducted as in the usual timings, like every day we used to have from 6 o'clock till 9 o'clock in the evening. That would be evening session. And based on the number of papers, if we have more papers to be accommodated, then we shall have in the morning session, which would be likely from 11 o'clock till 1 o'clock. So we'll try to fit all the papers in between 6 to 9, so that, or if required, we will try to extend 1 hour more, so that even those who are working also can participate. So accordingly, plan and choose. So we are trying to have mostly in non-working hours, so that we do not disturb our academics, and at the same time utilize this opportunity. So see you all tomorrow. Take care. Good night.